Hello everyone, welcome to biblicalculture.org. I'm Rabbi Dr. David Moster, and I just got back from the largest convention of Bible scholars on earth, the Society of Biblical Literature Conference that was held in Denver at the Denver Convention Center, best known for that big blue bear, which is pretty cool. So there were thousands and thousands of people at this conference. What I would like to do is tell you about my own experience. Every conference has these three highlights, and they are the sessions that you get to go to. You get to learn a lot. After that, there's this fantastic book sale with thousands and thousands of books for you to buy. And then the third thing is also just networking and hanging out with friends and getting to see a lot of people in one place at one time. So let's begin. I'd like to tell you about a few sessions that turned out to be really good, and I'll also point out my favorite one. The first session was by someone named Cassie Waits, and she pointed out something really interesting about the book of Job. So Job is all about this metaphor, about Job taking God to court. And what she noticed is that throughout the book of Job, there's a progression of Job becoming closer and closer to God and more confident. So at the beginning, Job describes God as being in the heavens, the creator of the sun, on top of the earth. But at the end, Job is saying, I want to come to the seat of God, right up to his seat. At the beginning, Job says something like, oh, God is not a man. And at the end, Job says, I want a judgment between me and God, as if two people are fighting and their friend has to intermediate. So really, Job is viewing himself as an equal with God, as if God is a man. And then finally, at the beginning, Job talks about if he might take God to court, but at the end he's like, I must be answered. I need this court. So what Cassie Waits really showed was how as the book of Job develops, so does this metaphor. Job begins out being really weak and meek and distant from God, and towards the end, Job is very confident and is right in God's face. A really fascinating take on the book of Job. The second talk I want to point out was by Eric S. Friedrichsen, and he did a really interesting thing. He noticed that there were 4 names in the book of Genesis that are Egyptian in origin, such as Potipharah means the one who Ra has chosen in Egypt, and also Asnat means belonging to the god of Neat in Egyptian. So these are really cool tidbits of information which we knew for a long time, but what Fredrickson did was point out to a new database of ancient Egyptian names, and what this database shows is that these names are particular to the first temple period of ancient Israel, as opposed to the second temple. That doesn't mean that they weren't around in the second temple period, but they fit better in the first temple period. And he pointed out that this might help you date the book of Genesis, but he didn't want to take it too far, which I thought was really nice. He didn't want to overstate his evidence, and he said the book of Genesis may have been earlier, it may have been later. We don't really know based on this information, but it could help in the overall patchwork for understanding the origins of the book of Genesis. Now, to my favorite session. For about 10 years, I've been studying a commentary by Erhard Gerstenberger on the Book of Psalms. It's my favorite commentary on the Book of Psalms, and arguably my favorite commentary on any book in the entire Hebrew Bible. It's fantastic. But Gerstenberger really is what we would call a form critic, very focused on the form as opposed to the bigger picture, the bigger meaning. So in a certain way, Gerstenberger is cold, analytical. It's like if you went to a basketball game, most people would focus on the score and who's winning and how great it is and how fun it is. And Gerstenberger would be focusing on the stats. You know, this person had 3.2 assists and so on and so forth. It's just very cold. It's not exciting. So Gerstenberger was asked to review 2 books that are the opposite of form criticism. They were minority communities speaking up about the Book of Psalms and how it applies to their own communities. And Gerstenberg came out, and I thought he was going to be harsh and critical, and he was so lovely, and he said this is such important work. It's so important for people to offer different interpretations of Psalms. It's not just his own interpretation. He even said that the Psalms are so vague, and if you think about it, it's true. The Psalms don't really have any specific information in them. The Psalms are so vague that they should be interpreted differently by different people. So I was really impressed by Gerstenberger. It was the first time I ever got to hear him speak, which was itself important for me, but also because I really learned a lot about his approach and how much of a mensch he is. one final session I just want to mention briefly as a shout out. This session was by Dalit Rome Shiloni, and she was talking about a new dictionary project that's free and it's online. It's called the Dictionary of Nature Imagery in the Bible, and it's really cool. So for example, if you come to a verse and it mentions a bear, you would click on the bear and it would tell you, well, what type of bear was it? Oh, it was a Syrian bear. Where did it live? Oh, it lived in the brush. Oh, did it die out during the biblical period? No, there were even bears in Israel until 1913. So all this great information by many, many scholars, different zoologists, botanists, and so on and so forth, geographers, and all these great things in one dictionary all online, and I'll have the link to it below. So now the second part of my conference was focused on the book sale. The book sale is amazing. It has thousands and thousands of books, really fantastic books. And what I buy at the book sale usually informs my teaching and my studies for the rest of the year. It's really like that. I go to libraries all the time, but what I really like is getting one or two books that guides my course. So for me, I found two books that I'm really excited to teach this year because they showed me a new way to organize the biblical material. So the books of Kings and the prophetic works I usually study them one book at a time, and that's how I do it, just go through the text. But what the first book did, and this is from James D. Newsom, it was written in 1984, the year I was born. It's called The Hebrew Prophets. What it does is it just goes through one prophet at a time. One prophet at a time, so it would be very easy to teach one prophet at a time instead of getting mired in the book of Isaiah, mired in the book of Jeremiah. It could be, oh, who was Jeremiah in the Bible? What were his teachings? What were his context? And so on and so forth. So I'm really excited to teach that. The second one is very similar. It's called David's Successors, and it's about each king. It was written by Garrett Galvin. And what it does is it takes each king of Judah one by one and just says who he was, what he did, what his contexts were. Was he graded good, positively, or negatively by the book of Kings and Chronicles, and so on and so forth. So I'm actually really excited to teach these two books at biblicalculture.org this year because it's just a really nice ordered path to get a lot of information in one easy swoop. Now, while that was fun, I would like to say that the highlight of my conference book sale was actually seeing my own book. I came out with a book this year, so this was the first time I got to see it, and it was displayed prominently, so that was really exciting for me as a first-time author. Now, I'm going to speak a bit more about the books that I bought at the book sale, and that will be in a different video, so stay tuned for that. Finally, the best part about this conference, the Society of Biblical Literature conference, and probably any conference for that matter, is seeing old friends, making new friends, going out to lunch, going out to dinner. And this year, in addition to just bumping into friends and catching up, I was able to host a biblicalculture.org luncheon. And we had wonderful, wonderful turnout from people all across the country. We had students from biblicalculture.org. We had professors at biblicalculture.org. We even had friends and advisory board from biblicalculture.org. So it was really, really exciting to have so many people come together to celebrate our institute and to help grow us as a community. So this really was a fantastic conference. Denver Society of Biblical Literature 2018 was a real great time for me. This was my experience. These were the sessions I liked. These were the books that I liked. And these were the people that I got to hang out with, which was really nice. If you have a different experience or want to let me know your own experience at the Society of Biblical Literature meeting, just be in touch. Okay, that's it for now. Stay tuned for the next video.